Welcome back to the Jazz Joe Hall Show. For those who weren't able to get through on the open line on our last segment, we were talking about challenges and frustrations we all have going to restaurants or sporting events or other public events, and you have to present your vaccine card. And at times there are scenes that people make where they haven't got their vaccine cards, they haven't been vaccinated. I appreciate all the stories and your opinions, and if those who couldn't get through, please call us on our buzz line at 604-331-2899, 604-331-2899. Do want to hear from all of you. Well, over the weekend, Vancouver police were called 3 times to a nightclub near Abbott Street in West Cordova after someone smashed a window, went inside, and stole liquor bottles in the early morning hours. The crime, of course, caused thousands of dollars in damage and losses. The 3 B&Es were just one in a series of incidents that kept police busy in Gastown over the weekend. Other crimes of note include more than $10,000 in clothing, jewelry, and accessories being stolen from a store near West Cordova and Richards late Friday night. VPD officers were also called to a social housing building on Water Street on Sunday night for a 42-year-old man who had been stabbed in the neck, shoulder, and abdomen. Vancouver police tell us that since April, they have responded to 82 violent crimes and 259 property crimes in Gastown, including 32 commercial break-and-enters. The VPD believes that's just a small portion of the crimes that are actually occurring because so many still go unreported. That is just absolutely amazing. For more on this, we're joined by Graham Williams, a Gastown resident. Hi, Graham.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us and telling your story as a resident in Gastown. What do you see in Gastown on an average week or every couple of weeks?
It's hard to describe at the best of times. It's interesting because there are a lot of folks out there who have lived in the neighborhood for a very long time. There are some folks who are struggling with all kinds of adversity, and the vast majority of people who live here and who are in the neighborhood are good people. They are not causing problems for anyone else. There is a very small select group. And that group is, there's no uniting factor there. It's just there are folks out there who are, angry at the world, or they feel like they are entitled to other people's things. So violence is not uncommon. In the last year, I have a murder that we recorded across the street on Hastings Street. Someone got stabbed in the chest, got that on our security cam. That's a horrifying thing that I never want to have to watch again. We had 2 people in our building who were assaulted, one with bear spray at our back door, was just coming in through the back door in the alley. Didn't say anything to anyone, and 3 people just approached him and sprayed him in the face with bear mace. I was threatened with spray paint to the face. A police officer happened to be about 30 yards away and stopped that from happening. And it sounds like the Wild West, and it's not. But when you take a look at any other part of town, I can walk through any other part of town and I don't feel like I'm on edge. And there are times in Gastown when, I'm an able-bodied, cis-appearing white guy, and I'm scared.
Wow. How long have you lived in Gastown?
I moved in July 2019. I've worked in the area since 2011. And when my partner and I moved here, we knew what we were moving into. The whole point of being here was to be a part of a community. And, I didn't think that when we moved in that I would go through, multiple naloxone kits, which we have done. I didn't think that, I'd be providing emotional support to people who are clearly not receiving the support that they need from some of the services that we have because those services are so strapped. The challenge, I think, over the last, year and a half, 2 years, has been looking at this and seeing people who are trying to do good in the neighborhood, police services, ambulance, support systems, both from not-for-profits and so on. There are a lot of folks out here who are trying to do good and then coming up against, again, this small selection of people who are making it their life's mission to not.
What do you think is causing this? I mean, beyond what you said about the small group of people, has COVID exacerbated this, made it worse?
Absolutely.
Or is it other issues that are deeper?
I think, it's both things. We obviously have a pandemic that's going on, and the population in the downtown east side increased. I think I heard numbers between 25 and 50%, and that definitely reflects with what I've seen over the course of the last 2 years. I think folks from across Canada realize that Vancouver is probably one of the places where they would be able to live out and survive this. And, people are finding housing in the area. We've got the Army and Navy that just opened up as a shelter, and the area's gotten better because of it. When people aren't struggling for housing, they're less likely to go and break a window or break into a store or stab someone. That combined with the fact that there is also this other epidemic that's going on. the drug crisis, which is going on, which, again, before I moved here, I had never seen anyone die. That number is over 8 people in the last year and a half. The mental toll that's taking on the people who are on the street, I don't even think that can be calculated. But for those of us as well who have moved into the area, who this wasn't like this 2 years ago, that was not something that we'd factored in. And I can tell you my mental health is not good. I am not okay. And so there are a number of different factors here. When you take a look at that particular one, you don't just have that crisis going on, but there's profiteering with gangs that are going on there. They're making money out of this. And any threat to that is probably going to exacerbate that as well. When we see things like safe supply, where people have access to substances and they don't have to commit crimes, these are things that will make things better. But you're going to have an element of society who's probably profiting off that, who don't want that to happen.
Will greater police presence help? And have you seen that police presence in the last year or so, or 6 months?
To be honest, like I said, the officers of the VPD that I have spoken to they've been present in the neighborhood and they have been helping. I know there are a lot of folks in the neighborhood probably who do not want to interact with the police just for a number of different reasons. In the last 6 months, since the downtown East Side Market has been moved about 3 blocks east, we've seen fewer police in the area, and there's been fewer incidents, but those incidents have escalated more quickly because I don't think people are worried that there's going to be a cruiser pulling by. The one thing that I've found really interesting is that the VPD has over 20 surveillance units that are sitting in a parking lot. Now, anybody out there that's part of the BCCLA is probably cringing at me saying this, but there's a reason why people will walk along the street, smash a window, and steal $10,000 worth of goods, because there's nobody here who's looking for it. There's nobody here stopping it. Those surveillance units, and I've asked the VPD, like, why do we not deploy them? And the answer was, because they might get damaged. Well, you know what got damaged? Those windows and $10,000 worth of merchandise that belong to some small business owner. We're not talking about big chains down here. That bar that on Abbott Street that got broken into, I know the guy that manages that. Yeah. And he's a friend to everybody in the neighborhood. He's not a rich guy. We've had over $40,000 in glass damage in this building alone. Right? I'm the Strata Council president of this building. We're 42 units. We're not incredibly rich people here. There are 3 commercial units. My insurance company is now saying that they're going to be hesitant to insure us because it's getting so expensive to repair that glass.
Wow. What can the elected officials, city councilors specifically, be doing right now to make things better for you and for people in all of the downtown area?
I think there's, police are going to be able to handle legal issues, but a lot of these things are mental health issues and medical issues. Why we do not have, patrol units that are helping people who are clearly in distress, both mentally and physically, that's something that would absolutely help. Mm-hmm. I did mention it, but those camera units would probably be very helpful, especially if they were monitored, because you could see if someone is about to do something. That building that was broken into, that was not one person alone. That was a strategic effort. And you can see when people are out to do things like this. You see somebody that's carrying a bag full of tools in the middle of the night, chances are they're probably going to be breaking into something.
Yeah.
And if not, just a, hey, how you doing, would probably help. So this is not a matter that requires, a redirection of the police, but it requires a number of different things. And having more police presence in the neighborhood probably would help. Having some mental health support will help. And having some eyes on the street that isn't just neighbors calling into non-emergency, because nothing's happened yet. So you call an emergency, they tell you don't call us.
Yeah.
But you call non-emergency, you wait online for half an hour, and the thing that you were about to talk about has probably already transpired.
Yeah.
So there are a number of different things here. So city council should be looking at actually being present in this neighborhood. And I know there are people probably in the West End and in Yaletown who are saying, well, what about us? Because they've started to experience what this has been like in this neighborhood for quite some time. But that really just speaks to it, doesn't it? We need some way of looking at this that is not just police, but also is perhaps offering a little bit more in the ways of eyes on the street that are going to stop these things before they happen.
Graham, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, that's Graham Williams. He's a Gastown resident. He's been there since 2019, and as you heard from his story, incredibly stressful period for him. Vast majority of residents are wonderful, as he says, but difficulty even getting insurance for the windows, the three businesses that are in his strata, never mind what other businesses are going through, as the VPD says. Significantly more people or businesses being damaged, even though not everybody calls into the police when this does happen. Huge challenge in regards to crime and order in Gastown and the downtown area generally.